Nothing screams domestic bliss, quite like finding your wife's phone buzzing at 2 a.m. with messages from someone named Jim Daddy. I'm Nick Garrison, 39 years old, and apparently too stupid to see what's been happening right under my nose for the past 6 months. The morning light filtered through our bedroom blinds as I watched Erica slip her phone under her pillow. She thought I was asleep. Classic mistake number 1 in the cheater's handbook. Always assume your spouse is dumber than you are. Morning, honey, she said, stretching like a cat. Erica had always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads at the grocery store. Blonde hair, perfect smile, and a body she maintained with religious dedication at CrossFit. That should have been my first clue. Morning, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. How was girls' night? Oh, just Fiona and me talking about boring stuff. Work drama, that sort of thing. Right, work drama that required her to come home at 1:30 a.m., smelling like men's cologne. I'm in IT support, not rocket science, but I can connect dots when they're drawn with neon markers. I rolled out of bed and headed for the shower. In the mirror, I saw what Erica had been seeing for months. A guy who'd let himself go soft around the edges, brown hair starting to thin, shoulders that had forgotten what a gym looked like. When did I become the before picture in someone else's transformation story? The hot water felt good, but not as good as the plan forming in my head. See, there's something about working in IT that people don't understand. We're professional problem solvers. We take broken systems and fix them. Sometimes that means replacing faulty components. When I came downstairs, Erica was already dressed for work in her HR manager outfit. Sharp blazer, pencil skirt, the whole power woman package. She barely looked up from her phone. Coffee's in the pot, she said absently. Thanks. I poured myself a cup and sat across from her at our kitchen table. So, Fiona's doing well? What? Oh yeah, she's great, really great. Her phone buzzed again. This time I caught a glimpse of the notification before she snatched it away. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My coffee suddenly tasted like ash, but I kept my expression blank. That's nice. You two should hang out more often. We should. We really should. She finally looked at me, and for just a second, I saw something that might have been guilt flicker across her face. Then it was gone. I have to run. Big meeting today. She kissed my cheek, a dry, perfunctory peck that felt like a business transaction, and headed for the door. Erica? She turned back, already impatient. What? Love you too. The sarcasm sailed right over her head. She smiled that practiced smile and left me sitting alone with my bitter coffee and the sound of her BMW pulling out of the driveway. I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years, but I had research to do. Fiona Martinez lived in a condo complex across town. I knew because Erica had dragged me to a housewarming party there last year. Nice place, too expensive for a wannabe influencer who sold essential oils on Instagram. I parked across the street at 10 a.m. and waited. At 10:47, a jacked-up Dodge Charger pulled into the visitor parking. The driver was everything I wasn't. Tall, muscled, with the kind of artificial tan that screamed, I spend more on grooming than most people spend on groceries. He strutted toward Fiona's building like he owned the place. Travis Jeffers, TJ to his friends. I'd seen him around town, heard the stories. Gym manager, serial cheater. The kind of guy who wore tank tops to show off his biceps and drove with his music loud enough to announce his presence 3 blocks away. In other words, exactly the type of man my wife would find irresistible after 15 years of marriage to a boring IT guy. My phone rang. Raj, my best friend since college, and the only person who'd been telling me the truth about Erica for months. You figure it out yet? He asked without preamble. Yeah, I figured it out. About time. So what's the plan? You want to come over and drink beer while you plot revenge? Something like that. I drove to Raj's bar, a dive called the Broken Wheel that catered to blue-collar workers and people who wanted to drink in peace. Raj had owned it for 5 years, ever since his divorce. He understood the particular pain of watching someone you love turn into someone you don't recognize. Let me guess, he said, sliding a beer across the bar. Gym guy with a loud car? How did you? Never mind. Of course you know. Nick, everyone knows. Everyone except you, and that's only because you didn't want to see it. He leaned against the bar, his dark eyes serious. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to make them wish they'd been more careful. Good. You want some free advice? Shoot. Don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything illegal. But make it count. I spent the rest of the day at Raj's, nursing 2 beers and working on my laptop. The beautiful thing about being married to someone for 15 years is that you know all their passwords, security questions, and bad habits. Erica used the same password for everything, our wedding date followed by her mother's maiden name. Real secure. Her email was a goldmine. Not just the affair stuff, though there was plenty of that. TJ wasn't exactly Shakespeare, but he made his intentions clear. What really caught my attention were the other emails. The ones about money she'd been hiding, the complaints about me she'd been sharing with friends, the lies she'd been telling about our marriage. According to Erica's version of events, I was emotionally distant, financially irresponsible, and hadn't touched her in months. The last part stung because it was half true. Hard to feel romantic towards someone who flinches every time you try to hold their hand. But the money thing? That was news to me. Apparently, she'd been skimming from our joint account for months, building up a secret stash for what she called her exit strategy. She'd even started looking at apartments. I closed the laptop and stared at my reflection in the bar mirror. The man looking back at me was tired, hurt, and angry, but he wasn't broken. Not yet. My phone buzzed with a text from Erica. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." I texted back, "No problem. Love you." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. At 11 p.m., I drove past TJ's apartment complex. The Charger was there, parked next to a familiar BMW. I sat in my car for a long time, watching the lights in his window, thinking about the woman I'd married and the stranger she'd become. When I finally went home, I packed a bag and left it by the front door. Then I sat in my living room and waited. Erica came home at 1:15 a.m., her hair slightly messed up, her lipstick gone. She saw me sitting in the dark and jumped. "Nick, you scared me. Why are you still awake?" I turned on the lamp beside my chair. "We need to talk." "It's late. Can't this wait until—" "Sit down, Erica." Something in my voice made her comply. She perched on the edge of the couch like she was ready to run. "How long?" I asked. "How long what?" "How long have you been sleeping with TJ?" Her face went white, then red. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The gym manager. The guy with the Charger, the one whose apartment you just left." She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "You followed me?" "I didn't have to." "You've been sloppy, Erica. Really sloppy." For a moment, I thought she might deny it, might try to salvage what was left of our marriage with apologies and promises. Instead, she lifted her chin and glared at me. "So what if I have? At least he makes me feel alive. At least he wants me?" "Right. And that justifies lying to me for months?" "You want to know what justifies it?" She stood up, her voice rising. 15 years of boring dinners and boring conversations and boring everything. Do you know what it's like being married to someone who's given up on life? Given up on life? I work 60 hours a week to pay for this house, your car, your job, she spat. Always your job. When was the last time you surprised me? When was the last time you made me feel special? When was the last time you gave me a chance? She laughed, a bitter sound that cut through me like glass. "You know what? My ex was better in bed than you'll ever be. I still think about him. At least TJ knows how to make a woman feel wanted." The words hung in the air between us like smoke. I felt something inside me break. But it wasn't my heart. It was the last chain holding back my anger. I stood up slowly, grabbed my bag from by the door. "Where are you going?" she demanded. "Away from you." "You can't just leave. We need to talk about this." I paused at the door and looked back at her. She was beautiful, even angry and disheveled. But she wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she never had been. "You'll regret this, loser," she shouted as I walked to my car. I drove to a motel on the edge of town, checked into a room that smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams, and lay on the narrow bed staring at the ceiling. Not as much as you will, sweetheart, I thought. Not as much as you will. The Sleepy Inn motel wasn't exactly 5-star accommodations, but it had 2 things going for it. Cheap rates and a manager who didn't ask questions. I paid cash for a week and settled into room 237, a beige nightmare with carpet that had seen better decades and a TV that only got 3 channels clearly. Perfect. I needed to disappear for a while, and this place was about as invisible as you could get without leaving town entirely. I called my boss, Mr. Price, and explained that I was having personal issues and needed some time off. He was understanding, probably more than I deserved. 20 years of reliable service bought you some goodwill. Then I got to work. The thing about being an IT guy is that you understand how digital footprints work. Most people leave electronic breadcrumbs everywhere they go. credit card transactions, social media check-ins, phone GPS data. If you want to disappear, you have to think like a system administrator and close all the back doors. I paid for everything in cash, turned off location services on my phone, and only used public Wi-Fi from coffee shops and libraries. As far as the digital world was concerned, Nick Garrison had vanished. But I wasn't hiding. I was hunting. My first stop was the public library, where I set up shop in a corner cubicle with a view of the parking lot. The librarian, a woman named Helen, who remembered me from when I'd helped fix their computer system, gave me a sympathetic smile and unlimited access to their high-speed internet. Erica's social media presence was a masterclass in deception. Her Facebook showed a happy wife living her best life, gym selfies, dinner photos, inspirational quotes about living authentically. What it didn't show was the burner Instagram account I found linked to an email address she thought I didn't know about. That account told a different story. Party photos from bars I'd never heard of, tagged locations that didn't match her supposed whereabouts, and comments from men whose profiles looked like they'd been designed by the same team that created every romance novel cover ever printed. But the real treasure was her Snapchat. Erica thought Snapchat was secure because messages disappeared. She was wrong. Screenshots live forever, and TJ wasn't as discreet as he thought he was. I found his social media through her tagged photos. Travis Jeffers, 36, manager at Iron Paradise Gym, single and loving it. His Instagram was a shrine to his own ego. Shirtless gym photos, expensive watches, and pictures of his charger from every possible angle. The kind of guy who took selfies in public bathrooms and thought it made him look sophisticated. More importantly, his posts revealed patterns. He was at the gym every weekday from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., hit the same bars on weekends, and had a standing poker game every Thursday night. Creatures of habit, both of them. I hired a private investigator, Stan Morrison, 58, former cop turned freelance snoop. His office was above a pawn shop downtown, and he looked exactly like Central Casting would order for grizzled detective. Rumpled suit, coffee stains, and eyes that had seen too much. "Cheating spouse?" he asked before I'd even sat down. "That obvious?" "You got that look. Hurt, but trying to be smart about it. What do you need?" I slid him a folder with everything I'd compiled. Background on both of them. Financial records, employment history, anything that might be useful. He flipped through the pages, nodding. "This is good work. You do this professionally?" "IT support. I know how to research." "I can see that. Give me a week." "How much?" $500 up front, $500 when I deliver, cash only." I paid him and left, feeling like I just hired my own personal army. The next few days fell into a routine. I'd wake up in my motel room, grab coffee and a bagel from the diner next door, then spend the day at various public locations with Wi-Fi, building my case. Evenings, I'd drive past familiar places, our house, TJ's apartment, the gym, gathering intelligence. It was during one of these surveillance runs that I discovered just how deep the betrayal went. I was parked outside Iron Paradise on a Wednesday evening when I saw Fiona's car in the lot. Through the front windows, I could see her on a treadmill, but she wasn't alone. TJ was standing beside her, his hand on her lower back, both of them laughing like they shared some private joke. 20 minutes later, they left together. Not to his apartment, but to a restaurant downtown. I followed at a distance and watched them through the window, sharing appetizers and drinks like old friends, or like co-conspirators. I took photos with my phone's zoom lens. Nothing illegal about photographing people in public places. The next morning, I called Fiona. "Nick?" She sounded surprised. "How are you? Erica told me you two were having some problems." "Did she? That's interesting. What else did she tell you?" "Oh, just that you'd been distant lately, going through a rough patch. She's really worried about you." "I'll bet she is. Listen, Fiona, I was wondering if you could help me with something. I'm trying to plan a surprise for Erica, but I need to know her schedule. You two have been spending so much time together lately." A pause. "Her schedule?" "Yeah, when she's free, when she's busy. I don't want to ruin the surprise by picking the wrong time." "Oh, well, we don't hang out that much, maybe once a week or so." "Interesting. According to Erica's calendar, they'd had girls' nights 12 times in the past month." "Right. Well, if you think of anything, let me know. I really want to make this special for her." "Of course. She's lucky to have someone who cares so much." I hung up and added Fiona's name to my growing list of people who needed to learn about consequences. Stan called on Friday morning. "I got what you need. Meet me at Murphy's Diner in an hour." Murphy's was the kind of place that served coffee in thick white mugs and didn't judge you for eating breakfast at 2 p.m. Stan was already in a corner booth when I arrived, a manila envelope beside his plate of eggs and hash browns. Your wife's clean, legally speaking, he said without preamble. No criminal record, no major debts, employment history checks out. But she's been busy. He slid the envelope across the table. 3 bank accounts you probably don't know about. Total of about $37,000. All money that's been transferred out of your joint accounts over the past year. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger alerts, but it adds up. I felt my jaw clench. What else? She's been apartment hunting. Put down a deposit on a place across town last month. Lease starts next month. And TJ? Stan's expression darkened. Now that's where it gets interesting. Travis Jeffers has a record. Nothing major. Bar fights, drunk and disorderly. 1 domestic disturbance call that was dropped when the complainant refused to press charges. But here's the kicker. He's got 3 other women on the hook right now. Your wife isn't his only side project. He pulled out a second set of photos. TJ with a redhead at a movie theater. TJ with a brunette at a coffee shop. TJ with a blonde who wasn't Erica at what looked like a hotel bar. Serial cheater, Stan continued. Works the same pattern with all of them. Finds married women looking for excitement, promises them the world, then moves on when they get too attached or too demanding. Your wife's just the latest. I stared at the photos, feeling something cold settle in my chest. How do you know all this? I talked to his ex-girlfriend. Amber Walsh works at O'Malley's downtown. She was very helpful once I explained what I was investigating. Turns out TJ left her for one of his married conquests, then dumped the married woman for someone else. Amber's got quite a few stories about our boy Travis. Is she willing to talk to other people about those stories? Stan smiled, and it wasn't a nice expression. For the right motivation, I think she'd be very willing to share. I paid Stan his remaining fee and drove back to my motel with the envelope full of evidence. That evening, I sat on my narrow bed and spread everything out like pieces of a puzzle. Financial records, photographs, timeline notes, contact information. For the first time since this whole mess started, I smiled. Erica thought she was playing chess while I was stuck playing checkers. She had no idea I'd been learning the rules of an entirely different game. My phone buzzed with a text from her. We need to talk. This silent treatment is childish. I typed back, I'm not giving you the silent treatment. I'm giving you exactly what you wanted, space to live your authentic life. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, that's not what I meant, and you know it. I know a lot of things, Erica, more than you think. This time, there was no response at all. I gathered up my evidence and put it back in the envelope. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that matched my mood perfectly. I'd spent the weekend planning my opening move, and now it was time to execute. The Iron Paradise gym opened at 5 a.m. for the early crowd. I knew from my surveillance that TJ usually arrived around 5:30 to prep for the morning rush. What I also knew, thanks to Stan's investigation, was that the gym's clientele included at least 4 women TJ was currently stringing along. I parked across the street and waited. At 6:15, I watched a familiar pattern unfold. TJ stepped out of his office to help a blonde woman with her workout, his hands lingering a bit too long as he adjusted her form. She laughed and touched his arm. Classic TJ. By 7 a.m., the parking lot was full of cars belonging to people who thought they were getting a legitimate workout from a trustworthy professional. Time to educate them. I'd spent Sunday night at a 24-hour print shop creating flyers on bright yellow paper. Nothing fancy, just facts presented in clear, readable text. Attention Iron Paradise members. Did you know your gym manager, Travis Jeffers, maintains active profiles on multiple dating apps while conducting inappropriate relationships with married clients? Protect yourself and your marriage. Ask the right questions. Below that, I'd included screenshots of TJ's dating profiles, the ones where he bragged about his no-strings-attached philosophy and his special talent for helping unhappy wives find excitement. I waited until the morning rush was in full swing, then walked into the gym like I belonged there. The teenage girl at the front desk was too busy scrolling through her phone to pay attention to one more middle-aged guy in workout clothes. The locker rooms were perfect for my purposes. I slipped into the men's room first, taping flyers inside each locker door where they'd be impossible to miss. The women's locker room was trickier, but I waited until the coast was clear and made quick work of it. By the time I left, every locker in the gym contained a personal message about their manager's extracurricular activities. I drove to a coffee shop with a clear view of the gym's front entrance and waited for the fireworks to begin. It didn't take long. At 8:47 a.m., a woman in yoga pants stormed out of the building, her phone pressed to her ear. I don't care what you're doing tonight, Brad. We need to talk. Now. At 9:15, 2 more women emerged together, both looking agitated and talking rapidly. By 9:30, there was a small crowd gathered in the parking lot. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their body language told the story. Lots of pointing toward the building, animated gestures, and the kind of group dynamics that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. TJ appeared in the gym's front window, looking confused and increasingly panicked as more people joined the parking lot discussion. My phone rang. Raj. Please tell me you didn't burn down his gym, he said. Nothing that dramatic. Just a little public education campaign. Should I ask? Probably better if you don't know the details, plausible deniability and all that. Fair enough. You need anything? Actually, yeah. You still know that reporter from the local paper? Janet something? Janet Morrison. She covers community interest stories. Why? I might have a story she'd find interesting, about a local business and customer safety concerns. I'll give her your number. But Nick? Yeah? Be careful. This kind of thing can spiral fast. He was right, but I was past the point of careful. Careful was what had gotten me 15 years of marriage to a woman who thought I was too boring to deserve honesty. I drove home, to what used to be home, to collect some things. Erica's car wasn't in the driveway, which was perfect. I needed to retrieve some documents and personal items, and I wasn't ready for another confrontation. The house felt different, like a museum of someone else's life. Everything was exactly where I'd left it, but it all seemed smaller somehow, less important. I was packing a box of books when I heard a car door slam outside. Through the front window, I saw Mrs. Conway from next door marching up my driveway with the determined stride of a woman on a mission. Eleanor Conway, 55, retired nurse and the neighborhood's unofficial information hub. If something was happening within a 3-block radius, she knew about it before the people involved did. Nick, she called, knocking on my front door. I know you're in there. I saw your car. I opened the door and tried to look surprised to see her. Mrs. Conway, how are you? I'm concerned. That's how I am. About you and about what's been going on around here. What do you mean? She glanced around conspiratorially, then stepped closer. I mean the parade of cars in your driveway at all hours. I mean your wife coming home at 2 a.m. on weeknights. I mean that ridiculous muscle car that's been parked here when you're not home. I appreciate your concern, but don't you but me, young man. I've been married for 32 years, and I know the signs. That wife of yours is stepping out on you, and everyone in the neighborhood knows it except you. I looked at this woman who'd lived next door for 8 years, who'd brought us casseroles when we moved in and cookies every Christmas, and realized she was offering me something precious. Validation. How long have you known? I asked. Suspected for months. Knew for sure last Tuesday when I saw her kissing that gym rat in your driveway. In broad daylight, Nick. No shame at all. Last Tuesday. The day she'd told me she was working late on a special project. I was going to say something, but Harold told me to mind my own business. But then you disappeared, and she's been telling people you abandoned her, and I just couldn't stay quiet anymore. She's been telling people I abandoned her? Mrs. Conway's expression darkened. Oh, honey, you don't know, do you? She's been playing the victim all over the neighborhood. Says you've been emotionally abusive, that she's afraid of you, that she had to get a restraining order. The box of books slipped from my hands and crashed to the floor. A restraining order? She showed it to the Hendersons yesterday. Said you'd been threatening her and she had to protect herself. I felt the world tilt sideways. A restraining order would ruin me. My job, my reputation, my ability to defend myself, all gone with one piece of paper. Mrs. Conway, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I have never threatened Erica. I have never raised a hand to her, or even raised my voice in anger. Do you believe me? She studied my face for a long moment. I believe you, but it doesn't matter what I believe if she's got paperwork that says otherwise. What if I could prove she's lying? About everything? What do you mean? I made a decision that would change everything. I mean, what if I could show you evidence that she's been planning to leave me for months? That she's been stealing money from our accounts and lying to everyone about what's really happening? Mrs. Conway's eyes sharpened. What kind of evidence? I retrieved my laptop from the box and opened the folder containing Stan's investigation results. For the next 20 minutes, I walked her through everything. The secret bank accounts, the apartment lease, the timeline of the affair, the dating app profiles. When I finished, Mrs. Conway was quiet for a long time. That little witch, she finally said. She's been making you out to be the villain while she's the one destroying your marriage. The question is, what do I do about it? Mrs. Conway smiled, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I had an ally. Leave that to me, dear. The neighborhood ladies and I need to have a little chat about the truth and about the importance of supporting the right person in situations like this. She stood to leave, then turned back. Nick, don't you let her destroy you. You're a good man, and you deserve better than this. After she left, I sat in my empty house and thought about restraining orders and false accusations and the power of neighborhood gossip networks. Erica wanted to play victim? Fine. But victims needed villains, and she just made the mistake of picking someone who'd learned how to fight back. I packed the rest of my things and headed back to the motel. Tomorrow, I'd find out just how effective Mrs. Conway's information network really was. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Janet Morrison from the Herald. Raj said you might have a story for me. Can we meet? I smiled and typed back. I have several stories you might find interesting. When and where? The game was just getting started. Janet Morrison met me at a coffee shop downtown, far enough from the neighborhood gossip network to ensure privacy, but public enough to keep things professional. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and the kind of focused energy that suggested she took her job seriously. Raj says you have information about a local business, she said, pulling out a digital recorder. Something about customer safety? Iron Paradise Gym, I replied. Specifically, their manager's inappropriate relationships with married clients. I slid a folder across the table containing copies of everything I'd compiled. TJ's dating profiles, screenshots of his messages, photos from Stan's surveillance, and testimonials from Amber Walsh about his pattern of behavior. Janet flipped through the documents, her expression growing more interested with each page. This is substantial, but I have to ask, what's your connection to this? Are you a concerned citizen, or do you have a personal stake? Both, I admitted. Travis Jeffers is having an affair with my wife. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because he's using his position at the gym to target vulnerable women, and people deserve to know what they're dealing with. Can you prove the affair? I showed her the photos Stan had taken, the social media evidence, the timeline I'd constructed. My wife has been lying about her whereabouts for months. Every girls' night out was actually time spent with TJ. Her best friend Fiona has been covering for her. And you want me to write about this because? Because people should know who they're trusting with their fitness goals and their personal safety. Because married women deserve to know when someone is specifically targeting them for affairs. Because the truth matters. Janet studied me for a moment. You realize this will probably end your marriage permanently? My marriage ended months ago. I just didn't get the memo until recently. She turned off the recorder. I'll need to verify everything independently. Talk to sources, confirm the timeline, make sure this isn't just a bitter husband trying to get revenge. I understand. But Janet, when you talk to people, ask them about the restraining order my wife claims to have against me. Ask them if they've actually seen it or just heard about it. Why? Because I don't think it exists. I think it's another lie, designed to make her look like the victim when the truth comes out. Janet made a note. I'll check the court records. If there's a restraining order, it'll be on file. And if there isn't? Then that's part of the story, too. We shook hands, and I left feeling like I'd just lit a very slow-burning fuse. Janet seemed thorough and professional, which meant she'd dig deep before publishing anything. That was good. I wanted the truth to be bulletproof when it finally came out. My phone rang as I was walking to my car. Mrs. Conway. Nick, dear, you need to know what happened at the Hendersons' barbecue yesterday. What barbecue? The neighborhood get-together. Your wife showed up with that gym man of hers, bold as brass, telling everyone how she's finally found happiness after years of being married to an unstable man. I gripped the phone tighter. She brought TJ to a neighborhood barbecue? She did indeed. Introduced him as her friend who's been helping her through this difficult time. Made quite the speech about how she's been afraid to leave you because of your temper, but she's finally found the courage to start over. And people believed her? Mrs. Conway's laugh was sharp. Oh, honey, that's where it gets interesting. You see, I'd already had conversations with several of the ladies about your situation, shared some of the information you showed me, so when Erica started her victim routine, we were ready. What do you mean, ready? I mean, Martha Henderson asked to see the restraining order, and when Erica couldn't produce it, Sarah Williams asked why she'd need a restraining order against a man she was still legally married to and living with. And then Carol from down the street mentioned how odd it was that someone afraid of their husband would bring another man to a neighborhood event. I could picture the scene. Erica's carefully constructed narrative falling apart under gentle but persistent questioning from women who'd known her for years. What happened then? Oh, it got better. That muscle-bound boyfriend of hers started getting aggressive with the questions. Told Martha to mind her own business, used some very colorful language in front of the children, really showed his true colors. And And Bob Henderson asked him to leave. When he refused, Bob threatened to call the police. Your wife left with him, but not before telling everyone we'd regret taking your side. I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. Mrs. Conway, you're amazing. I'm not done yet, dear. The ladies and I have been busy. We've been making some calls, sharing some information. By tomorrow, everyone in a 6-block radius will know exactly what kind of woman Erica really is. You don't have to do this for me. We're not doing it for you, Nick. We're doing it because we don't like being lied to, and we especially don't like women who make false accusations against good men. It makes it harder for women who really are in danger. After we hung up, I drove to an electronics store and bought a small digital recorder. If Erica was going to keep spreading lies about me, I wanted to be prepared with evidence of what she actually said. I didn't have to wait long for an opportunity. She called that evening while I was eating dinner at a 24-hour diner near my motel. Nick, we need to talk, she said without preamble. About what? About you turning the neighborhood against me, about you spreading lies and trying to make me look bad. I haven't spread any lies, Erica. I've told people the truth. The truth? The truth is that you're a bitter, pathetic man who can't handle the fact that I've moved on. I turned on the recorder. Is that what you think happened? That you moved on? I found someone who appreciates me. Someone who makes me feel alive and wanted and special. Something you never did. By cheating on me for months and lying about it. I did what I had to do. You forced me to. I forced you to have an affair? You forced me to find happiness somewhere else. You were never there for me emotionally. You never made me feel desired. What was I supposed to do? Talk to me. Go to counseling. Ask for a divorce. Literally anything except lie and cheat. Her laugh was bitter. Right. Like you would have listened. Like you would have changed. You were perfectly happy with your boring little life and your boring little job and your boring little routine. So you decided to steal money from our accounts and plan your exit strategy without telling me. Silence. Then, how did you... Never mind. You always were good with computers. Good enough to find out about the apartment lease, the secret bank accounts, the dating app profiles, all of it, Erica. You had no right to invade my privacy. You had no right to destroy our marriage while pretending everything was fine. Our marriage was over years ago. You just refused to see it. Then why didn't you leave? Why the elaborate deception? Another pause. Because I needed time to get established, to save money, to make sure I could take care of myself. You mean you needed time to find a replacement husband? TJ isn't... It's complicated. It's not complicated at all. You're a cheater and a liar, and now everyone knows it. You think you've won something? Her voice turned vicious. You think turning a few neighbors against me changes anything? I'm still leaving. I'm still taking half of everything, and I'm still going to be happy while you're alone in whatever pathetic place you're living now. We'll see about that. What's that supposed to mean? It means you might want to check the local news tomorrow, and maybe call your boss. I hear HR departments take a dim view of employees who create workplace drama. You wouldn't dare. I already have. I hung up and turned off the recorder. The conversation would make excellent evidence if I ever needed to prove who was really being threatening in this relationship. My phone immediately started buzzing with texts from Erica, each one more angry than the last. I screenshotted all of them, then blocked her number. Tomorrow, Janet's article would run. The neighborhood already knew the truth. And soon, Erica's workplace would know exactly what kind of person they'd been employing. I ordered a piece of pie and sat in the diner, watching the late-night traffic and thinking about how quickly a person's carefully constructed lies could unravel when exposed to sunlight. Erica was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The Herald's article ran on Thursday morning with the headline, "Local Gym Manager Accused of Inappropriate Client Relations." Janet had done her homework, she'd interviewed Amber Walsh, verified TJ's dating profiles, and even gotten statements from 3 Iron Paradise members who'd felt uncomfortable with his behavior. The article didn't mention Erica by name, but it didn't need to. Anyone who knew TJ would connect the dots. By noon, my phone was ringing with calls from people I hadn't heard from in months. Word travels fast in a town this size, especially when it involves scandal. "Nick, it's Dave from work. Just wanted to check on you, man. Heard about the situation." "Thanks, Dave. I'm doing okay." "If you need anything, a place to crash, someone to talk to, just let me know." Similar calls came from other coworkers, neighbors, even guys I played poker with occasionally. The narrative was shifting, and it wasn't going in Erica's favor. But the call I was really waiting for came at 2:30 p.m. "Mr. Garrison, this is Marta Gonzalez from Pinnacle Insurance. I work with your wife in HR." "Marta. Erica had mentioned her before, always with irritation. They'd never gotten along, something about competing for the same promotion last year. "What can I do for you, Marta?" "I was wondering if we could meet for coffee. There are some things about Erica's recent behavior at work that I think you should know about." We met at a chain coffee shop near Pinnacle's offices. Marta was exactly as Erica had described her, sharp-dressed, serious, with the kind of focused intensity that suggested she didn't waste time on small talk. "I'll be direct," she said after we'd ordered. "Erica has been using company resources for personal business, making personal calls during work hours, using the company computer for non-work activities, and taking extended lunch breaks that she doesn't report properly." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she's been telling people at work that you're abusive, that she's afraid to go home. She's been garnering sympathy and using it to excuse her poor performance and attendance issues." I pulled out my phone and played part of the recording from my conversation with Erica the night before, the part where she admitted to planning her exit strategy and stealing money. Marta listened with growing interest. "She said that? On the record?" "She did, and I have screenshots of text messages where she threatens to destroy my reputation and take everything I own." "Would you be willing to share those with our HR department?" "Why would your HR department care about my personal problems?" Marta smiled coldly. "Because making false accusations of domestic abuse is a serious matter. It reflects on the company's reputation, and it creates a hostile work environment for other employees who have to listen to her stories and wonder if they're true." "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "I'm asking you to provide evidence that Erica has been lying about her home situation so that our HR director can make an informed decision about her continued employment." I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "I'll email you everything tonight." "Thank you. And Nick, I'm sorry this happened to you. No one deserves to be betrayed like this." After Marta left, I sat in the coffee shop and planned my next move. The professional consequences were falling into place, but I wanted something more personal. Something that would hit Erica where it really hurt, her social status and her carefully maintained image. I called Fiona. "Nick, oh my gosh, how are you? Erica's been so worried about you." "Has she? That's interesting." "Listen, Fiona, I want to do something special for Erica. A surprise dinner party. Kind of a reconciliation gesture." "Really? That's so sweet. She'll be thrilled." "I was thinking this Saturday night. Nothing fancy, just close friends. You, TJ, maybe a few other people. I want to show Erica that I'm willing to accept the people who are important to her." Fiona practically squealed with excitement. "Oh, this is perfect. She's been feeling so bad about how things ended between you two. This will mean everything to her." "Great. Can you help me coordinate? Make sure everyone can come? I want it to be a surprise, so don't tell Erica. Just make sure she's free Saturday at 7. "Absolutely. This is going to be amazing." I hung up and smiled. Sometimes the best traps were the ones people walked into willingly. The next day, I received confirmation that my plan was working on multiple fronts. Janet called to tell me that Iron Paradise had placed TJ on administrative leave pending an investigation into the allegations in her article. Marta emailed to say that Pinnacle's HR director wanted to schedule a meeting with me about Erica's workplace conduct issues. But the most satisfying call came from Stan, the private investigator. "Your boy TJ is having a very bad week," he said. "Lost his job, got evicted from his apartment, apparently his lease was in his ex-girlfriend's name and she decided not to renew it, and his car got repossessed yesterday." Repossessed? Turns out he was 3 months behind on payments. Amazing how fast things fall apart when you lose your income stream. "Where's he staying now?" "Couch surfing, from what I can tell. Saw him at a cheap motel on Route 9 last night, but he only stayed 1 night. Probably can't afford more than that." "And Erica?" "Still in your house, but she's been getting visits from some very unhappy people. Apparently word about the affair has spread through her social circle, and not everyone's being supportive." Perfect. Everything was coming together for Saturday night's grand finale. I spent Friday preparing for the dinner party. I rented a small private dining room at Giuseppe's, an Italian restaurant downtown that Erica loved. Nothing too expensive, but nice enough to make the evening feel special. I ordered flowers, wine, and a menu that included all of Erica's favorites. Then I called the guest list. "Fiona, it's Nick. Is everything set for tomorrow?" "Yes, TJ will be there, and I invited Chris. You remember my boyfriend Chris? And Sarah from Erica's book club. Oh, and I couldn't help myself. I had to tell Mrs. Conway. She was so excited that you two are working things out." Mrs. Conway. Perfect. The neighborhood's information network would ensure that everyone heard about whatever happened at this dinner. "That's great, Fiona. What time did you tell Erica?" 7 o'clock sharp. I told her I was taking her out for a girls' night to cheer her up, but I'll bring her to Giuseppe's instead. She's going to be so surprised. I'm counting on it. Saturday evening arrived clear and cool. I got to Giuseppe's early and made sure everything was perfect. The private dining room was intimate but not cramped, with a long table that would seat 8 people comfortably. I'd arranged for a photographer, officially to capture the reconciliation, but really to document whatever happened next. At 6:45, I positioned myself near the restaurant's front entrance and waited. TJ arrived first, looking uncomfortable in a borrowed sport jacket that didn't quite fit. He'd lost weight since losing his job, and his usual swagger was notably absent. Chris and Sarah arrived together, both looking excited about being part of what they thought was a romantic reconciliation. Mrs. Conway came in wearing her best dress and carrying a small gift bag, beaming with happiness for what she believed was going to be a wonderful evening. At exactly 7 p.m., Fiona's car pulled up outside. Through the window, I could see Erica in the passenger seat, dressed up and looking puzzled about why they were stopping at Giuseppe's. I took a deep breath and walked to the dining room to greet my guests. "Thank you all for coming," I said as they settled around the table. "This means everything to me." The door opened and Fiona walked in, followed by Erica. My wife looked beautiful. She'd always known how to dress for special occasions, but her expression quickly shifted from confusion to alarm as she saw the assembled group. "Nick, what is this?" "This is a celebration," I replied, gesturing for her to take the empty chair across from me. "A celebration of honesty, authenticity, and people finally getting what they deserve." TJ shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Fiona looked between Erica and me with growing confusion. Mrs. Conway smiled expectantly, still thinking this was a reconciliation dinner. "Everyone here has played a role in the story of my marriage," I continued, pulling out my phone. "Some of you have been honest. Some of you have been less than honest. Tonight we're going to clear the air about everything." "Nick," Erica said quietly, "what are you doing?" "I'm giving everyone the truth, starting with this." I pressed play on the recording of our phone conversation from earlier in the week. Erica's voice filled the room, admitting to the affair, the stolen money, the planned deception. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Sarah gasped. Chris stared at Erica in shock. Mrs. Conway's hand flew to her chest. Fiona's mouth fell open. But I wasn't done. "And here," I said, pulling out printed copies of the text messages, "are some of the threats Erica sent me when she realized I knew the truth." I distributed copies around the table. The messages were ugly, calling me names, threatening to destroy my reputation, promising to take everything I owned out of spite. TJ finally found his voice. "This is insane. You can't just ambush people like this." "Can't I?" I looked around the table. "Everyone here has been living with lies for months. Fiona, did you know that every time you covered for Erica's girls' nights, you were actually helping her cheat on me?" Fiona's face went white. She said, "I didn't know." "Mrs. Conway, did you know that while you were worried about my well-being, Erica was telling people I was abusive and dangerous?" Mrs. Conway's expression hardened as she looked at Erica. "Is that true?" "Sarah, did you know that your book club friend has been stealing money from her husband and planning to abandon their marriage without even trying to work things out?" Sarah shook her head slowly, staring at Erica like she was seeing her for the first time. "And TJ?" I turned to face him directly. "Did you know that while you were promising Erica a future together, you were also sleeping with at least 3 other married women?" I placed photos on the table, the surveillance pictures Stan had taken of TJ with his other conquests. Erica grabbed the photos and stared at them, her face cycling through shock, hurt, and rage. "You told me you weren't seeing anyone else." TJ stood up abruptly. "I don't have to listen to this." "Actually, you do," I said calmly. "Because I'm not finished. Everyone here deserves to know exactly who they've been dealing with. For the next 20 minutes, I methodically destroyed every lie, every deception, every false narrative that had been constructed around my marriage. I played recordings, showed documents, presented evidence with the thoroughness of a prosecutor making a case. By the time I was done, the room was silent, except for the sound of Erica crying. "Why?" Fiona finally asked. "Why would you do this to us?" "I didn't do this to you," I replied. "I revealed what had already been done to all of us. Every person at this table has been lied to, manipulated, or betrayed. The only difference is that now you know it." I stood up and put on my jacket. "Dinner's paid for. Order whatever you want. But I won't be staying." As I reached the door, I turned back one last time. "Erica, the divorce papers will be filed Monday morning. Don't bother coming back to the house. I've had the locks changed." I walked out into the cool evening air, leaving behind the wreckage of lies and the sound of my former life finally, definitively ending. Tomorrow, I would start over. But tonight, I was free. The Riverside Fall Festival was one of those small-town traditions that brought out everyone within a 20-mile radius. Food trucks, craft booths, live music, and enough gossip opportunities to fuel the local rumor mill for months. Under normal circumstances, I would have avoided it like the plague. But these weren't normal circumstances. It had been 2 weeks since the dinner party disaster at Giuseppe's. The fallout had been swift and comprehensive. Erica had been terminated from Pinnacle Insurance after the HR investigation concluded she'd violated company policies regarding workplace conduct and truthfulness. TJ was officially banned from Iron Paradise and was reportedly working at a big box store on the other side of town. Fiona had been ostracized by half the neighborhood for her role in covering up the affair. I'd moved back into my house and started the process of rebuilding my life. The divorce proceedings were moving forward smoothly. Erica's lawyer had advised her not to contest anything after seeing the evidence I'd compiled. I should have been content to let things fade away quietly. But Erica had other plans. She'd been calling and texting constantly, alternating between apologies and threats. When I blocked her numbers, she started showing up at my workplace, my grocery store, anywhere she thought she might corner me for a conversation I had no interest in having. The breaking point came when she showed up at Raj's bar on Thursday night, drunk and belligerent, demanding that I stop hiding and face her like a man. Raj had to call the police to have her removed. That's when I decided to attend the fall festival. If Erica wanted a public confrontation, I'd give her one, on my terms, with witnesses, and in a setting where her behavior would be on full display for the entire community. I arrived at Riverside Park around noon on Saturday. The festival was in full swing, with families strolling between booths selling everything from homemade jam to hand-carved furniture. The local high school band was performing on the main stage, and the smell of funnel cakes and barbecue filled the air. I bought a coffee and positioned myself near the dunk tank, where a line of good-natured victims were taking turns getting soaked for charity. The setup was perfect: open space, clear sightlines, and plenty of people around to witness whatever was about to happen. I didn't have to wait long. At 12:47, I spotted Erica near the entrance, scanning the crowd with the focused intensity of a predator hunting prey. She was dressed up as if this were a social event rather than a small-town festival, wearing heels that were completely inappropriate for walking on grass. She saw me and started marching in my direction, her face set in an expression of grim determination. "Nick," she called out when she was still 50 feet away. "We need to talk." Conversation stopped. Heads turned. The crowd began to sense drama in the air. "Hello, Erica," I replied calmly as she approached. "Enjoying the festival?" "Don't you dare act casual with me. You've destroyed my life, and we both know it." "I've destroyed your life?" I kept my voice level and reasonable. "How exactly did I do that?" "You know what you did. The lies you spread, the people you turned against me, the way you humiliated me in front of everyone." A small crowd was beginning to form around us, pretending to look at nearby booths while obviously listening to our conversation. "I haven't spread any lies," I said. "I've only told people the truth about what happened in our marriage." "The truth?" Her voice rose to a near shriek. "You call that ambush at Giuseppe's the truth?" "You call turning my friends against me the truth?" "I call playing recordings of your own words the truth. I call showing people evidence of your affair the truth. I call—" "I made a mistake," she interrupted. "One mistake, and you're acting like I'm some kind of monster." "One mistake?" I pulled out my phone and opened the folder containing screenshots of her messages. "Would you like me to read some of these texts to everyone here? The ones where you called me names I won't repeat in front of children?" She lunged for my phone, but I stepped back easily. "Don't you dare." "Or what? You'll have me arrested, like you threatened to do with that fake restraining order you told everyone about?" The crowd was growing larger now, drawn by the spectacle of a very public marital breakdown. I recognized faces from the neighborhood, from local businesses, from church. That's when I saw TJ pushing through the crowd, his face red with anger and what looked like alcohol. "There you are, you piece of garbage," he snarled, pointing at me. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Ruining people's lives with your computer tricks and your spy games." "TJ, don't," Erica said, but there was no conviction in her voice. "No, I'm tired of this guy acting like he's better than everyone else." TJ was clearly intoxicated, swaying slightly as he spoke. "You want to know the truth? Your wife came to me. She begged me to help her get away from you. Said you were boring and pathetic, and she couldn't stand another day of being married to a loser." The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. "Is that what she told you?" I asked. "Did she also mention the 3 other women you were sleeping with while you were helping her?" TJ's face darkened. You don't know what you're talking about. I know about Rebecca from the yoga class, and Amanda from the spinning group, and Jennifer, who works at the bank. I'd done my homework. Should I keep going, or do you want to admit that you're just a serial cheater who targeted my wife because she was vulnerable and stupid enough to fall for your act? You son of a... TJ started toward me, but I was ready. I'd been hoping he'd try something physical. In front of this many witnesses, with this many phone cameras recording, his assault would be documented from every angle. I stepped sideways as TJ lunged forward, using his momentum to guide him toward the dunk tank. He tried to stop, windmilling his arms for balance, but physics and alcohol worked against him. The splash was magnificent. TJ surfaced in the dunk tank, sputtering and cursing, his borrowed clothes soaked and clinging to his diminished frame. The crowd burst into laughter and applause, dozens of phones capturing the moment for posterity. Need a towel? I asked helpfully. That's when Erica completely lost control. You think this is funny? She screamed, her carefully maintained composure finally cracking completely. You think destroying my life is some kind of game? She swung her purse at my head. I ducked, and she stumbled forward, her inappropriate heels betraying her on the uneven ground. What happened next was pure slapstick comedy. Erica's momentum carried her toward the pie-eating contest table, where the next round of contestants was about to begin. She tried to catch herself, grabbing for the edge of the table, but only succeeded in pulling the tablecloth and sending a dozen cream pies sliding in her direction. She went down in a cascade of whipped cream and pie filling, her designer outfit ruined, her hair covered in what appeared to be banana cream. The crowd's laughter was deafening now. Camera phones flashed like paparazzi at a red carpet event. Someone started a slow clap. I looked down at my soon-to-be ex-wife, sitting in a puddle of pie filling and public humiliation, and felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Erica, I said quietly, crouching down so only she could hear me. This is what happens when you build your life on lies. Eventually, gravity takes over. I stood up and addressed the crowd that had gathered to witness our public breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption to your festival. Sometimes personal matters spill over into public spaces, and that's unfortunate. But I want you all to know that what you've witnessed here today is the end of a very difficult chapter in my life. I looked around at the faces in the crowd, neighbors, co-workers, people I'd known for years. Some of you have heard stories about me over the past few months. Stories about me being abusive, unstable, dangerous. I hope what you've seen here today helps you understand who was really telling the truth. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Conway pushed forward and took my arm. Nick, dear, everyone here knows what kind of man you are, and what kind of woman she is. More voices joined in, offering support and sympathy. The narrative had shifted completely and permanently. TJ had climbed out of the dunk tank and was standing in a puddle, dripping and defeated. Erica was still sitting in the pie remnants, crying and covered in cream. I pulled out my wallet and handed a $20 bill to the teenager running the dunk tank. For the charity, I said, and thanks for the entertainment. The crowd laughed again, but it was good-natured now. The kind of laughter that comes after tension has been released. I walked away from the festival, leaving behind the wreckage of my old life and the sound of my former wife's sobs. People called out supportive words as I passed, patting my shoulder and offering encouragement. At my car, I turned back one last time to look at the scene. TJ was helping Erica to her feet, both of them soaked and humiliated, surrounded by a crowd that was already moving on to the next attraction. They deserved each other. I drove home to my quiet house, poured myself a beer, and sat on my back porch watching the sun set over a neighborhood that finally knew the truth about everything that had happened. My phone buzzed with notifications, friend requests, messages of support, invitations to dinner from people who wanted to show their solidarity. The community had chosen sides, and for the first time in months, I was on the winning team. Tomorrow, I would start the next chapter of my life. But tonight, I was content to sit in the peace of my own backyard, listening to the sounds of a world that had finally stopped judging me for someone else's lies. Sometimes karma needs a little push. Sometimes it just needs a dunk tank and a pie-eating contest. Either way, justice had been served.